Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Let me just get it out of the way first. Yes, it did feel very, very good to make that thumbnail. But that's not what this video is about. It's not about bragging or rubbing it in, because as I said in a previous video, you can never trust anything Warner Brothers ever says. So nothing means nothing when it comes to their announcements. But that's getting ahead of myself. This video is going to cover Superman, but also Warner Brothers DC properties in general. And it's going to cover it on the two levels of what my channel is about. I've always, with my channel, I've addressed how our mythologies, how our popular fictions operate as mythologies on a cultural, societal level, and then on also an individual level, how they inspire us and affect us psychologically, and so forth. So a while ago, it was actually, technically it was before, it was during the weekend of the Black Adam release, and before it was announced, before Cavill came out and announced that he was back as Superman, I had done a video, because people on the internet, there was this weird, bizarre buzz going around where people were like, you gotta bring him back, you gotta bring him back. There's this ridiculous narrative, and I talked about it, like he's some kind of voice of the people, he's a hero, he's one of us guys, you need to bring him back. He's none of that. He's nobody that understands these characters, and I did a whole video about that. And then in the course of that video, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, or before I released it or whatever, it was announced that he's officially back at that point. You would not believe the amount of comments I got. Cope harder, bro. You need to take some copium. Get over it. He's back. Deal with it. Blah, blah. You know, exhibiting the exact kind of behavior that Cavill's Superman inspires in people. Because Cavill Cavill portrayed a character that was a bully or a whiny mopey. That's the behavior that he inspired in people. So that's the behavior that his fans and supporters were dishing out to me. Of course, I don't engage. I just block, whatever. Occasionally, I'll pin a comment if it's particularly hilarious. But now, who's got the copium now, right? But I said in those videos, I said it is a series of them. I said, look, don't believe that Cavill's back just because they've announced it. And I said, Warner Brothers has a long and valued tradition of announcing, saying they're going to do 1,000 different things, making plans for it, sometimes even doing them, and then just canceling it. Just canceling it, changing their mind, flip-flop, whatever, we don't know. And the reason they do this is because DC, Warner Brothers rather, more than any other company that I know of, or I can think of, they have absolutely no clue who these characters are that they own. They are 100% clueless as to why they appeal to people, why we love them, why we want to spend time with them. They have absolutely no clue. And by they, I mean the people who are apparently in power. And those people keep changing, right? There was this silly hubbub going on all the usual YouTube channels. Oh, this new guy who's coming into Warner Brothers, he's gonna clean it up, guys. He's one of us. He canceled Batgirl, so he's gonna... These silly narratives that go about, and I'll talk about why this come about in a second. But look at what Warner Brothers... Let's go all the way back, okay? Anything good that's ever come from Warner Brothers, from the DC properties, has been just because somebody, the right person accidentally got assigned to that movie or to that character or whatever, you know? Thank heavens that Richard Donner was assigned to make that first Superman movie, you know? Thankful we have that. But when they were doing the Superman, that kind of, you know, they played out or whatever because they didn't realize that, you know, you need to keep people like Donner attached and whatnot. Well, Tim Burton comes along and makes a popular Batman movie. It's not a perfect portrayal of Batman, the iconic Batman character, but it's really a darn good movie, and it's very popular. Warner Brothers thinks, let's get that guy who did Batman, let's get him to make a Superman movie. And there was going to be the Superman Lives movie, which started production and all of that, casted and all of that, and then, of course, canceled. Then a little later they think, hey, how about that guy who did the X-Men movies? Let's get him to come over here and make a Superman. Hey, X-Men, Superman, it's all the same. Let's get him to come over here and make a Superman movie. Then you had Superman Returns. And though I maintain that that's artistically a wonderful film, and I love many Superman-like aspects about it, it is a horrible Superman story. You don't tell that kind of story with Superman. It's a misunderstanding of the character. Did they learn from that? No. Then they thought, hey, Christopher Nolan's making some popular Batman movies. Why don't we give him Superman and everything? And he didn't want it. He just wanted to executive produce. So, well, that's no problem. We'll get the guy who did Watchmen. We'll get him to come over here and do Superman. Watchmen, Superman, same thing, same thing. And then you got the horrid debacle and character assassination that was the Snyderverse, which is soundly rejected now. There is that small little vocal minority that just tries their best to pretend it's still a thing and it's still about, and every time they make a little faux victory, like the Snyder Cut was released, Snyderverse is here to stay. Snyderverse is old news. Nobody likes it. 2 or 3 little vocal people that used to be on Twitter like it, and that's about it. It's garbage. It was garbage. It was a horrible portrayal of those characters, a complete and total misunderstanding of all of those characters, especially Superman. It's almost too much to go through back and forth now as to what Warner Brothers has done recently with Superman. Announcing this and then announcing that and then announcing this, and of course there's all the things. I remember when Batman v Superman was released, and they were they did a special on TV. They got Kevin Smith, everyone's favorite little shill lapdog, there with Jeff Johns, who were like, he's going to come in now, guys. He's going to be the one to save it, and Jeff Johns certainly understands the character, but they didn't give him any freedom or real power to do anything. They saddled him with the Snyderverse baggage. And they had some special where it was Kevin Smith and Jeff Johns talking about all the movies that Warner Brothers is going to do. There's going to be a Cyborg movie. There's going to be these, all the... Half of those never came true, never came to fruition. We know recently they canceled the Batgirl movie, which was already in the can. Thankfully, I'm happy that a lot of these things got canceled. I'm just pointing out how Warner Brothers doesn't even know what it wants to do. It doesn't understand the characters, so it doesn't even know what it wants to do with the characters. Let's just be honest, Ezra Miller's Flashverse should be canceled. It's a horrible, horrible idea. Not even Michael Keaton's Return as Batman can save that garbage. Now they're trying to reset everything. Now, we were saying, those of us who understood the characters and wanted true blue stories of Superman and the rest of the Justice League and so forth, were saying, guys, you need to reboot right after Batman, or right after Man of Steel, basically, but Batman v Superman, whatever, reboot after that. Cut this garbage. I mean, the writing was on the wall then, but Warner Bros., no, double down, we'd lose money. Well, how much money have you lost now, you chuckleheads? Now they want a fresh start. Well, no one cares anymore. No one trusts you anymore. I certainly don't. Who could give a flip about whatever DC's going to do now, thinking it might be good? Who do they get now to be on Superman? James Gunn. Let's get the guy who did the Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy. Hey, Suicide Squad, Superman, same thing. Let's get him to write that movie. Let's get the guy who was in the news recently for his pedophile comments on Twitter. Let's get him to write Superman, the purest, most aspirational character ever. It's hard to fathom a company with its head more consistently, perpetually up its rear end than Warner Brothers. I mean, Disney Marvel, they understand their characters. They know what their characters are supposed to be. They just don't care. They're wanting to deconstruct them and remake them from the ground up. They're wanting to push their ideologies through them, but they know who they should be. And that's obvious from the fact that they did get it right for a certain amount of time. Warner Brothers has never had a clue. Like I said, anything good that ever came to Warner Brothers was just an accident. They really are... there was this article that came out about the Wonder Woman movie before the Wonder Woman movie hit, which was talking about the process of making that movie, and it was saying Warner Brothers is just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. And you think about that, that's a pretty good analogy, because just because something sticks doesn't mean it's going to stick forever. That's what Warner Brothers takes and runs with, like the Wonder Woman movie, which was a horrible portrayal of Wonder Woman. That wasn't it. So and it didn't stick forever, because now Patty Jenkins, her ridiculous 84 Wonder Woman movie or whatever, killed it, and then I think she's parted ways with them now officially or something. Who knows? They have no idea who these characters are or what they're doing. That's just obvious to anybody paying attention. Okay, so now how does this apply to what I was saying about looking at the two different levels of how, let's say, the DC properties, for example, are affecting a society, and then individually, those of us who like the stories, on a psychological level, how they do their work as mythology. Well, they're not able to do their work as mythology, because Warner Brothers, the people who own the stories, don't know who the characters are. They have no clue how to write stories, or how to commission stories, how to put forth stories that are the real deals with these characters. They have no idea how to do that. what's going to happen is they're going to keep throwing crap at the wall like this. Maybe James Gunn will end up writing this movie. Is it Ta-Nehisi Coates? Who knows? It's going to be awful. Now, James Gunn is a decent writer, but he's not the man to write Superman at all. You don't get, like I said, Superman, the purest, most aspirational hero out there. No one understands that. No one. Well, let's just be honest. No one wants that. They're too busy looking for Batman Punisher. And if anybody gives a passing glance over at Superman, they want him to be dark, like Man of Steel garbage was. People just don't understand. They don't understand aspirational characters. They don't, know that they're worth it and necessary in our culture and whatnot. So with Warner Brothers continuing to do this, what's going to happen is they're going to deconstruct people's ideas of these characters completely. I've said before that my students that I teach, and these are 18 to 22-year-olds or whatever, they have no idea who Superman is. When you say Superman to them, they think Henry Cavill. They think guy who kills people, sad, whiny guy, whatever. They don't know anything better. A few of them that maybe their parents show them the right movies or, the right comics or the right books or whatever, sure. But for the most part, Warner Brothers is just successfully deconstructing this idea. They can pretend all they want that they're going back to it. They're going back to it. In the comics we saw that with the idiot Dan DiDio. Good riddance Dan DiDio. But they fired him way too late and didn't implement any changes from what he was already doing anyway. But he kept saying, we got to learn from the, things that work. Rebirth taught us that, but the New 52 taught us we need to continue to be innovative. You can't do both. You can't do both. Stop. DC's universe is supposed to be iconic. It's supposed to be so vastly different from the Marvel universe. And it fulfills a place in our society, in our mythology, our cultural consciousness. It's a important thing that Marvel and DC universes were different in that respect. And no one understands that now, is making the stories. So what do we do, right? Well, here's what people think that they're doing to help this, but they're not. They're only hurting it. Well, I'm going to wait and see. I'll give James Gunn a chance. I'll wait and see, and did you hear about that? Hey, did you hear that now they're not doing this? Did you hear now they're doing this? Did you hear? People are unfathomably invested in whatever Warner Brothers is doing with these characters. Let me say this. If you really do love Superman, if you really do love these characters, you wouldn't even care to pay attention to what Warner Brothers is doing right now. They have emphatically, boldly, unquestioningly told you that they don't know what they're doing and that 99.9% chance of whatever they do is going to be wrong. They're going to get the characters wrong. They're going to deconstruct them more. They're just going to be garbage. And yet you see people try to defend stuff like the Superman and Lois show. Or they try to defend the Snyderverse. Or they try to defend that, we need to wait and see because, hey, you haven't even seen what James Gunn does yet. You can't judge until you see. Oh my gosh. Yes, you can. Look at the track record. As I've said before, we are at a place culturally with entertainment where they have to win us over. They should have to win us over. They should have to prove to us over, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're going to get these characters right and they're going to earn us, right? They need to romance us back. That's how it should work. It doesn't need to work like that because people are so willing to jump right into the next offering. And what that does is it takes away those characters the function that they do in our society, right? We, those of us who remember Superman and know who he's supposed to be will still have that character in our mythos, but give it another generation or two. You're going to have a generation without the characters of Superman or Luke Skywalker. These big, major aspirational heroes that really filled that gap. Who are they replacing it with? There's no true blue aspirational paragon heroes out there. None. They don't because they hate that. There's nothing like that. That's going to hurt society. That's going to hurt, and I've done videos on that. It's too much to explain here. That's going to hurt society. The individuals who are pushing for this, the individuals who, want to wait and see, want to follow all the news, want to, check this out, they'll claim that they're doing it because they're fans. They just want good stories, and we're not giving up like you negative old professor. We're believing. No, they're not fans of Superman. They're not fans of Star Wars or Batman or whatever the franchise is. They're fans of being a fan. They're fans of the buzz that happens. I've talked about this before. Fan Man calls them fan addicts, which is a good term, but I think we can even go more specifically and explain. One of the things I've said before is a lot of them want community. They just this is one possible motivation. They need to be talking about the most recent thing. They need to be talking about the recent hashtags and all of these things because they want that community. They want to be able to feel like that somebody else across the world or somebody else is interested in the same thing. They want that connection. Now, there's nothing wrong with community, connection, any of that, but there is something wrong with it when you're sacrificing the work of mythology just to get that. You're settling and you're empowering these companies like Warner Brothers, who's shown beyond a shadow of the doubt they've got no clue what they're doing. You're still letting them do it. It doesn't matter. You can gripe about it all you want. And then this is the other side of that. The individuals who keep this going is the usual YouTube chuckleheads who, are out here making their videos and here's the news, guys. I'm a news channel and here's, I'm talking about this or whatever. Yes, there are a handful of people who are just YouTubers and fans and talk about stuff. Okay. I'm not saying everybody that does this is one of these, but gone are the days when YouTube used to be, a voice of the people or a voice for fandom. That's gone. Now you've got people who are really quite predatory, who, they set up a little corner of their house or whatever, and they make sure they put out a video every day because they need to get that revenue up, right? And they're going to comment on everything that's hot, it's in the news, that's hashtag worthy or whatever, because they know that you'll get that dopamine hit listening to what they have to say about the newest thing, and you'll pick your 5 or 6 favorite YouTube talking heads, and you'll go through and make sure that you hear how angry each one of them was about the thing that happened, and all you're doing is making Warner Brothers relevant. You're continuing to make them relevant. You're continuing to make it matter that they announce anything when it's blatantly clear now that nothing they announce is worth listening to. Is it great news that Cavill's gone as Superman? Wonderful news. Couldn't be happier. It's not good news like, oh, it's fixed now, because next week they could turn around and announce, well, he's actually coming back for a Man of Steel 2, but he's just not going to be involved in James Gunn's movie. Wait for it. That'll come back. I don't trust this at all. And then we don't have any reason to believe that what they're going to do now is any good. Let's just say that some miracle happened and James Gunn actually had an iconic Superman story or whatever. Let's just say that happened, okay? It shouldn't be something that you're lining up at the door to go see, because all you're doing is gambling, and chances are you're just going to end up supporting more crap and pushing the chance to get anything good farther away. If something good comes down the pipeline, it should come down the pipeline and prove itself to you. You shouldn't be there like all these other idiots are, just waiting with bated breath to watch it and see if it's any good. All you're doing is telling them that they don't actually need to do anything good, because you'll watch it no matter what. So shut up. I don't want to hear what you're griping about it. I don't care what you think about it or what because you don't really care about Superman. You don't really care about any of the DC properties. When you're, in the evenings, you go through and find your favorite YouTubers and see what they're saying and what's the latest news about this. The latest news is it's crap. Warner Brothers don't know what they're doing. That's all the news. That's not going to change. Step away. Stop making them relevant. As long as you continue to make them relevant and continue to feed their algorithm, they don't need to do anything change-wise. They don't need to actually stick to any decisions they make. They don't need to do it because you will not make them. You won't make them because you're so weak. You're so crazy weak. And you'll hide behind these false notions like, well, I'm being level-headed because I've got to watch something and give it a chance. And no, you're enabling them. You're addicted to the fandom. You're not addicted to these stories and these characters as they are. You're not allowing these characters to continue to do the work that mythological characters are supposed to do in a culture. You're not allowing them to do that because you're enabling these companies to continue to tear them down and give you poor stories. I feel like I could go on and just prattle on about things that I've already said now. I'll probably just stop it there. But I couldn't let this go by without commenting on it. I haven't made a video in quite a while, but this was obviously, I just talked about this. I just called this. I just predicted this. And people told me, oh, they bullied me and told me I was an idiot for it. Well, who's got the egg on their face now? But like I said, it's not one-sided because look at next week for them to change it back. They don't know what they're doing. They won't put anybody in power with enough power who does know what they're doing. They won't do it. Warner Brothers should just die. Seriously. You used to be great. You did wonderful stuff. I don't trust you at all. I'm not going to give you any support. I'll still buy the old stuff. That's great. Still watch the old stuff. Still read the old wonderful Superman stories and whatnot. And that's Superman to me because I care about Superman. So I'm going to spend time with the stories that I know are good and true. I don't need something new. I don't need that, because I let the character do the work that he's supposed to do as a mythological aspirational paragon. I let him do that work in me as a fan of him. I don't need something new. I don't need to have a relevant hashtag. Until people are willing to really just do that and step away and turn their heads from the nonsense, nothing will ever change. Nothing. The illusion of change will be there because they'll keep flip-flopping and they'll keep throwing crap at the wall, but nothing's ever really going to change. Look over the last 10 years or so. Has anything really changed? No. It's just been one bad idea after another. And it'll continue to be like that because you can't say no. But anyway, that's all for now. I said it was going to stop, and then I went on again more. So I'll stop now. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with more. Until then, keep continuing and digging deeper into the true blue, real iconic hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.